Hi, Michael. Yes. Sorry.
I've been thinking about. That's what I'm gonna eat. Brooklyn, how are you? Doing great. Usually you're right beside me, so it's easy to speak. So. No, it's not.
Mine's good. So wait, when I talk? Oh, it's all through there?
Yes, so you don't ever want this. mic
How
on,
come is it,
actually.
how's it been working this long time? Yours must be really loud.
You ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Rapid City Area Schools Board of Education regular meeting. Shirley, may we have a roll call, please?
Troy Carr,
Here.
Jamie Clapham,
Here.
Christine Stephenson,
Here.
Deb Baker,
Here.
Kate Thomas,
Here.
Michael Berkland,
Here.
and Walt Swan.
Here. Before we move on to the invocation, we just want those that would like to participate in the invocation. I ask that you would read the policy. We've made some minor procedural changes to it. Those that have wanted to pray or whatever they're going to do during the invocation have had some difficulties. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take appointments or those that want to sign up 2 months in advance. So for September and October has already been filled. So we're opening November and December, and that will open up in October. And so again, that's 4 people, first come, first serve. You'll call Shirley, and you have to call yourself. You can't call and sign somebody else up, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, at this time, I saw my pastor friend come. Remind me. Oh, yes. Pastor Randy Brock. Yes.
Father, I begin first of all by just thanking you for servants that you have called to serve on this board. Lord, they have given of themselves, Lord, and I pray, God, you'd give yourself to them and give them wisdom. I thank you for every parent, every friend of children that are in this room today. And Lord, I thank you for the heart that you have for kids. And my prayer today would be that you would give each and every one in this room today that very heart. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like a motion. I'd entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda. Deb? Oh, Mrs. Baker, I'm trying to, use my policies, and Mr. Swan. Move to approve the proposed agenda. Any discussion? All in,
Is this where if I want to pull something, I can pull it?
no,
No?
that's
Okay, yeah.
number 9.
Okay,
Consent
yeah, I know
agenda.
that.
Yeah, we understand. All right. Barring no more discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we're moving. Sharing the success. Swagger.
Thank you, President Carr. We're back on duty, celebrating success again tonight. Teachers returned, so I guess we should have a big success piece recognizing it was the first day for all teachers to be back in the building. But tonight I'm here actually just to share some success we have had in filling leadership roles in the district this summer. So I'm going to call these people up and introduce them to you. Federal Programs Director, Jennifer Strong. Jennifer is joining us from Wyoming. She comes with a wealth of knowledge on federal programs and experience working in school districts, in classrooms, in principal roles, in leadership roles in districts with the TIE program and with the state. So she is joining us in the role of Federal Programs Director. School Safety Manager, Mr. Matt Sargent. Matt Sargent is joining us most recently from the public sector, but he does have over 20 years of experience with law enforcement. He served at Pennington County Sheriff's Office on patrol in various roles within the department, including SRO at Dakota Middle School and Stevens High School. He also became the SRO sergeant in charge of the Pennington County Sheriff's Office SRO program. He served on the city SWAT team. He is joining us to help ensure that our school safety plans are in place and to keep our students and staff safe and our community safe as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Sargent. Our construction and planning manager, Jade Clement. Jade joins us from Nebraska. He comes with a wealth of experience in project management. So he is joining us. He will be in charge of our construction and planning, but also working very closely with our facilities and our buildings and grounds team. He has already jumped right in. He is in the thick of things at South Middle School and with our capital outlay projects. And we have really enjoyed having him on board. So thank you very much, Jade. College and Career Readiness Manager, Bobby Jo Donovan. Bobby Jo is working her way up in the ranks of Rapid City area schools. She may be here someday. Bobby Jo has been a teacher and a college and career readiness support academy coordinator. And now she is stepping into the college and career readiness manager position. Most recently, she has taken on a lot of duties with within that department, college and career readiness, getting that program up and ready. We made some changes, board approved changes last year to that program. And Historically, you may recognize Bobby Joe because she has come before you before. She has written grants, those big simulator machines. That was work that she did. So we're thrilled to have her leading the charge in our college and career readiness department. Thank you, Bobby Joe. Dr. Kira Comer is joining us as student service manager. Dr. Comer is joining us most recently from being a school psychologist at Central High School and really serving as a lead in the school psychologist realm. I know that I personally have called upon her for her expertise in that area over the years. She has stepped into a new role as district leadership in the special education or special services department as this student service manager. She is joining a great team and she has really experienced some high need work in the last few weeks. That whole department has, as you know, we are about 16 special education educators short. And so her, Dr. Comer, as well as Dr. Hafer have really gone back to the drawing board and work together to establish how we can best serve our needs of our students. I greatly appreciate Dr. Comer stepping into this role. Thank you. Central High School has a new principal, Mr. Lundeen. Mr. Lundeen is joining us most recently from the principal at East Middle School. I'm kind of afraid to go out there. They might not welcome me anymore. But I have moved Mr. Lundeen into the position at Central High School as principal. I think that Mr. Lundeen is probably the most positive person that I have ever had the pleasure to work with. And I did work with him when he was an educator at Rapid City High School. That leadership quality is incredibly important in today's day and age. And although I know he was doing incredible work at East Middle School, I know that he now has the opportunity to share his awesomeness with 1,800 students and staff and faculty of about 100. So I appreciate him taking on the role, and I apologize to his wife. East Middle School, Tiffany Dubai. Yes, I didn't see you walk in, so I wanted to make sure you're here. Tiffany, I was fortunate enough to first meet Tiffany a few years ago when I was an assistant principal and we did some training together. She impressed me then. She continues to impress me. She was the assistant principal at East Middle School last year. I wanted to keep that school operating in the same mode as it was. So I asked Tiffany to step into the role of principal for East Middle School. She hit the ground running. She's done an incredible job moving things forward there this summer. I'm not sure that she was thrilled with my phone call either, but I greatly appreciate that she has stepped into this role, and I know that East is in great hands. So thank you, Tiffany. Finally, Corral Drive principal, Drew Foley. So Drew actually was at, oh, I'm sorry. I will go back, Abby. I apologize. Save the best, save the best for us. Mr. Foley has taught at Pinedale and been an assistant principal most recently at West Middle School, has returned to his elementary roots. I think he's thrilled about that. Stepped into the leadership role at Corral Drive. I know that I knew him when he was a teacher at Pinedale. I don't know that he had either of my daughters specifically assigned to him, but they rotated up in the upper grades. And I know that they both my daughters had an opportunity to know him as an educator. And I am thrilled that he is taking on the leadership at Corral Drive. So thank you, Mr. Foley. I'm going to go back now because I obviously can't read. General Beadle Elementary Principal, Abby Karn. So I'm thrilled to have Abby Karn join us. We stole her from Hot Springs. She may tell you that she's glad not to commute, but I think we are even more thankful that she has agreed to join us here in Rapid City. She has a very strong family network and roots very deep in Rapid City. She was a teacher in Rapid City, instructional coach at Knollwood. She worked at Wilson and now has taken the helm of General Beetle. She started July 1st and still manages to have a smile on her face, even though much of July and August, I think she was very worried about staffing situations that did not get really settled until last week. So I appreciate that she has remained positive and calm and now has a teaching staff in place and ready to hit the ground running with kids next week. So thank you very much, Abby. And one person who's not on here, but is on the consent agenda, but I think this is an appropriate place to introduce him. Mr. Ferris, Scott Ferris, has agreed to come out of retirement and lead Valley View for the start of this school year. My daughters did have Mr. Ferris. My oldest daughter had him as an educator. I know that he led an elementary school as principal, stepped into the realm of middle school principal, retired, and still took my phone call. So I'm very thrilled. We found ourselves in a very unique position at Valley View when the principal that we had hired suddenly passed away. Mr. Ferris has graciously stepped in to hold us together as we move forward through a process of searching for the right person to lead that building. So I'm very thankful that he is here as well. Thank you, Mr. Ferris. And that is all my success for tonight. They're a fantastic group of individuals that are going to help move Rapid City Area School forward. And I thank you for recognizing them tonight.
All right, Shirley, is there a mistake? I don't have any persons wishing to address the board forms. No mistake. All right. Well, we don't have anybody wishing to address us, which means we don't have anybody to address. We don't have any conflicts of interest. And so we're on to item number 9, approval of proposed consent agenda. Any members like to pull an item?
Yes.
Can I pull A, please?
Alpha?
Alpha, yes.
And for Nicole.
Okay,
E, please.
Echo. Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda except for items Alpha, Echo, and November.
I make a motion.
Deb,
I'll second.
Jane. Okay, any discussion? Oh, no. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we've approved the consent agenda. We'll go to Alpha. I need a motion. Okay, discussion.
So actually, I really pulled it for very brief discussion, to be honest. And I just wanted, I think it's important, we've talked about being very open and transparent with community. And I just wanted to point out, it's a contract for virtual services for speech therapy, because unfortunately, like many roles, we have been unable to fill those speech therapy positions. And for anybody who can see the attachment, it kind of looks like a large price tag, like, holy cow, almost $200,000. But at the same time, if we were to hire 4 speech therapists with basically any experience at all, we would probably spend anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 more than that. So I just wanted to point out to you, it's another chance for a creative solution in a challenging time that I appreciate our leadership doing, as well as the fact that it's a very fiscally responsible decision. So that was really the only reason I wanted to pull it, was to illustrate that to the public.
Any other discussions?
Thank you, Bishop Carr and Mrs. Clapham for bringing attention to that. This is another example how I believe that Dr. Hafer has really stepped up and thought outside the box to address these needs. We know that we have speech language needs within our district without staff. How can we best serve that? She's done, her team and herself have done a lot of work in figuring out how this program would work. No students will be alone with a computer. Actually, the plan is that a local speech language provider will pull 2 students in. One student will work with the virtual, with the person off of this contract. Our local person will work with a provider locally, a student locally. And from what I understand, I think they'll switch off. So, the students will have in-person and virtual assistance with that. And it will allow us to still make sure that students are being observed in this environment and served. So I applaud the thinking outside the box so that we can serve all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor of item number alpha signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, on to echo. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All right, discussion.
So I need a definition of what the solid lines mean and the dotted lines.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. The solid lines are direct supervision.
Okay.
And the dotted lines mean there is some shared responsibility and communication. So for instance, on this new organizational chart, when you see a dotted line between payroll, which is currently housed by this organizational chart and by current practice under human resources, there is a dotted line connecting it with the account manager position, because obviously it's funds, it's money that's going out, and there's a connection there. So that would be the dotted line would be that Coy and his team are also involved in that process because of the dollar amounts.
Okay, so it's my understanding that if it's just a partial relationship and not a direct relationship, if payroll is under the audit, then we should follow the solid lines up to director to superintendent then, and that's the person we would evaluate on the audit, I'm assuming. So that would mean that we would now not audit or evaluate the chief financial officer. We would evaluate the superintendent then, if it's direct. Otherwise, I would entertain to the rest of the board, if we're going to evaluate the chief financial officer on the audit, which the payroll does follow under the biggest part of the audit, that we actually have a solid line and a dotted line up to the CEO, superintendent.
So is your concern the legal and CFO and superintendent from the board? That's where the concern is?
Yes, my concern is, as we know that last year we evaluated the chief financial officer and the superintendent with criteria that they are responsible for. The audit happens to come underneath the chief financial officer. However, some of the mistakes, or the biggest chunk of, and it'd be obvious from any business perspective, your payroll, if that's the largest chunk, you're going to find probably the most mistakes in there. And so we would evaluate a according to what the auditor's report, would fall underneath evaluating the chief financial officer for that. But I don't, with the lines being solid means I think we should be, the way this looks, we should evaluate the superintendent if it's going to fall underneath directly, which is what the solid line means, to the superintendent. Did I just get kicked off? Well, at least
No, I
it's still
think so.
recording. You can hear me. Anyway, I would entertain that thought process to the rest of you. I don't know that we need to change it right now. I can still approve it as is, but I think it's something we should seriously consider, at least going forward when we do the evaluations later, that the evaluator who is directly responsible for that payroll, if we're going to have that solid line up to the superintendent, then that's who is being evaluated on it. If it's going to be a solid line to the chief financial officer, then that's who needs to be evaluated. It's just my thoughts.
Any other discussion? Okay.
I just wanted to clarify one thing between the two of you. I think Mrs. Swigert, Superintendent Swigert, I think you were talking about an issue that I had noticed, which is up at the top. Oops. I think that we need 2 more solid lines there. And then I think what Mrs. Thomas was talking about was down towards the bottom on the payroll manager there, how that would fall under the superintendent's realm rather than say the chief financial
Yes, thanks. for
officer.
that
So kind of
clarification.
two separate issues there that we need aligned to the superintendent because we are directly evaluating you and to the CFO. And then what do we do down there at the bottom since there's that muddy water that we've talked about before?
The chair recognizes Mrs. Clapham.
And so I kind of more, and I see exactly what both of you are saying. I wonder if Ms. Thomas, if what would resolve theoretically the challenges you're seeing is if the payroll manager had the dotted line going toward the left and the solid line going to the right. So they would still be connected, but you're saying switch
Correct.
where, okay, I just wanted to clarify that would resolve that, I think. So
It would resolve it.
yeah, so instead of having these 2 lines would switch, the solid line would be over here and the dash line would be over there. So that makes sense. Yeah, I know we've kind of struggled with where to put this, but I do see with the evaluation part, I can see that logic, and it would be reasonable to move.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Baker.
In my mind, I still think that the payroll should fall directly under Mr. Sassy. Because that's the biggest amount of money that this district pays, and he's the chief financial officer. And so to me, I think that should still be moved over there, and I've always thought that, so. It used to be there, so I'm not sure why it got moved over here, but I think it should go back to where it belongs. That's my personal opinion.
All right. Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Sassy.
Thank you, President Carr. I think you could make arguments either way. I think there's certainly merit on both sides of that conversation. We've had some discussion about it. I would really like the opportunity to come back and discuss that with Mrs. Swigert. I think I don't know that her and I have ever got the chance to really fully sit down and work our way through that and help each other understand both sides of that. I think I certainly have some thoughts about where that lands, especially as Mrs. Thomas points out, its implication on the audit side, given the high dollar amount of funds moving through that function and given the amount of transactions that are happening. It's what we would call a high risk area on the financial side of things. And so again, I think you can really make arguments both ways, but I would like the opportunity to discuss it again with Superintendent Swigert and allow us to bring back to you some thoughts and a potential solution on that situation.
Okay. I think in hearing arguments on both sides, I defaulted to allowing administration, since they're directly responsible if there's an audit or whoever's in charge. And so I have a personal opinion, but you know, it's, again, it's either way we can go. All right, so at this point, the chair at the last moment recognizes
Sorry.
Mrs. Stephenson.
Thank you, President Carr. And I also want to apologize to anybody who's watching this now or later who can't see me. I can't figure out how to turn my video on. And now I have people helping. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh. There's a slider on the computer. I've never had a computer with a slider. I don't know who got a hold of my computer and changed everything on me, but okay, so here's my I share the concerns about the payroll. I really think under Board of Education, it needs to be, instead of like trying to go down to legal and out, I think it needs to go down and then 3 direct lines, down, out, superintendent, CFO, and legal. Or maybe legal needs to be dotted. But like this does not tell me that I, as a Board of Education member, will do the reviews on the superintendent and the CFO. And I think that's the case. It's just an extra line that it needs. I think we were trying to get at that, but those dotted lines, according to this, the only authority we have is over legal, which to me is not correct or accurate.
All right, the chair recognizes Mrs. Thompson, Mrs. Thomas.
So it looks like we still need to have discussions on this. I mean, I'm completely fine voting tonight, yes, just to pass this through or whatnot, but because this seems to have come up like probably 4 times at least this last year. And it's still a working document, obviously, and more conversation needs to happen. I would hate to muddy it tonight by making 2 different motions to change it, because I agree with you, Christine, that needs to be cleaned up as well too. But you, Michael, had mentioned that too, so. So that's it.
We're having fun anyway,
Yeah.
even without public comments. All right, the chair recognizes Mrs. Swaggart.
So I will say that we were making an effort to not have diagonal or crooked lines. So I know what you're saying. I can make this happen. So I can bring it back with the clear delineation at the top. I also believe that we could, I think Coy and I have an hour or so tomorrow, actually. We scheduled it so that we can put this on our agenda and discuss it. I also think that probably HR should be involved. As I've said before, that one of the reasons it was moved over to HR is because of all the leave and calendar implications on when people get paid hourly, when they put in their leave, how that works out, who tracks that. A lot of that is done by payroll. So I think we were making at least an effort to connect the 2. I think there's more work to be done there. I just think that under the board, we need a line that comes out and goes over and comes down to Coy and I, so that it's solid there. No crooked lines, still just over. Yes, just like that. Exactly like that. So I think that doesn't necessarily solve the problem. I also know that Mr. Daniel talked to me about, he's not sure that his department is fully represented in this the way that he would like it to be. I think that we need to recognize the fact that we made some big changes in the last year, and this is the first document that is pretty clean. Everything underneath the top level. So if I would say that I would like us to know that this is a way we're moving forward, but I'm happy to bring back to the first meeting in September on September 5th, a clean copy that we could, that would address everything that is brought up tonight.
All right, thank you. Board recognizes Mr. Swan. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. I would agree with Coy that you probably should have these conversations before we present something of this magnitude. If it's a legal document or if it represents what we're doing, I think that we probably should have a clearer understanding and maybe a key perhaps, and maybe I think the people you're looking to involve, Superintendent Swaggart is, I think that's a great way to get everybody involved, especially with HR, you know, and getting payroll even involved to see how they would like to be represented. That way we have a clearer understanding. Everybody here is, you know, we're not, obviously, we've talked about this a couple times now, so let's get this right and have the conversations, and then we'll go from there, and maybe shoot the president a couple drafts, maybe just to see if I agree. He's been taking notes all this time, I think. So I think that he would probably have the clearest understanding of what's needed from administration. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Stephenson, is your hand still up?
Oh, no.
Okay, Mr. Berkland, is your hand?
Yes, it is
Okay.
re-up.
All right, the chair recognizes Mr.
So besides that top part, this accurately represents what's happening right now, correct? So we could move forth with this coming to whatever conclusion with the bottom part of it later on. So I guess for tonight, trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Would you like us to approve this with this change?
Bobby has fixed it. She can share if you would like her to, Bishop Carr.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what our options are. Our options, the motion is to accept it in its current form, okay? Our option is to vote yes with the promise that it will be brought back. Option 2 is to vote it no, and that it would have to be brought back with the number of changes. Our other option is, instead of administration deciding where payroll would go, the board could make a direction on where we would like it to be. So that would be a conversation between the 7 of us. If we felt strong enough one way, we could then make that as a recommendation to the administration. This is where we would like payroll to be. All right, so those are our 3, well, right, currently.
Can I add another one in there?
Oh, you got new hands. All right, the chair recognizes Mr. Berkeley.
Okay, thank you. Could I make a motion to accept it with this change that I think Bobby has made, that I have this drawing here, so that it has those lines connecting us to the superintendent? I'm fine with voting yes on it, but I would like to see those lines that connect us down.
Okay,
I want to accept it the way it is right now, not the one that says we only are in charge of legal.
so yes, you can make the motion. We haven't had a second, but what I recommend, we've heard more changes need to be made than just this change. The other thing is we want to be careful about making changes on the fly right now. So
Right, and
if whatever change, the best thing would be to vote no, and to let them go make all the changes that they need and then bring it back to us, right? And in the meantime, part of that change would be if we, as a 7, want to direct them to put payroll wherever we want them to put that, then that's where it would.
can I ask one more question then?
Oh, sure.
So then would we revert back to whatever our current, so essentially the same way? Okay, I can pull my motion then.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, no more hands? All right, any more discussion? All right, give everybody. Okay, so Shirley, can we have a roll call vote to accept the current, what are we doing? Organization chart in its current form, okay? So, all right, roll call vote.
Troy,
No.
Jamie,
No.
Christine.
No.
Deb,
No.
Kate,
No,
Michael.
No.
Walt.
No.
Motion fails 0-7.
All right. So with that being said, then Superintendent Swigart, we are expecting you all to present a new, fresh org chart that I'm sure will pass at that time. And I don't know, I'll bring it up in other, because then we will have to decide whether we want to have any influence on where payroll wants to go, so we can have that discussion in other. All right, at this time though, sticking with the agenda, we are, I need a motion to accept item number November, the Medco agreement.
So moved.
Okay,
Second, I guess.
No.
No, we want to talk about it.
okay. Pull it, yes.
Pull it, it's pulled.
Okay, so motion first, second, and now discussion.
Was it, who made the motion? I did not get Christine and
Christine.
Michael. Thank you.
All right, discussion.
I'd like to, I suppose I should put my silly hand up.
Well, the chair can recognize Mrs. Baker without the hand on the, on Zoom. How about that?
Thank you. I'd like to, I think this is just really expensive for streaming. And what are we streaming? I mean, what is this all about? It just says $480 a month to stream. What are we it says sports events, which ones? And practices. Why are we streaming that?
Okay, chair recognizes Superintendent Swigert.
Thank you, Bishop Carr. Currently, we have an arrangement to stream sporting events through a process called Huddle. And we do that for basketball and football, volleyball. And so the request was made last year that we would consider adding Huddle to Sioux Park so that we could stream soccer and track events. I do see that it says practice here, but I also see that the expert is in the room. So Mr. Jordan Bauer has joined us, so he can probably speak to this as well, Bishop Carr, if you'd like to recognize him.
All right, the chair recognizes Mr. Bauer.
Thank you, Bishop Carr. I'll just start with Mrs. Stephenson. I also fell victim to the little shutter above my camera at one point, so don't feel too bad. That happened to me too, and IT had to come down and fix it for me. So, so Huddle is a service that we use both at Central and Stevens with our programs that, like Superintendent Swigert said, allows us to live stream some games. It also allows our coaches to watch film and share that back with the student athletes so they can watch it. They can break down film, they can individualize it from player to player. And it's, in most sports, we have agreements with the other schools across the state that we have to use Huddle to share our film with those that we compete against. So we do have a Huddle camera. The Huddle camera is an automated camera. You don't need anyone to run it. Someone way smarter than me figured out it follows the ball, and it's all automatic. It's really awesome how it works. So you just mount it on the ceiling or on a fixture somewhere around the facility. We have one in our gym at Central. Stevens has one in their gym, and there is one out at O'Hara Stadium that we use. So our soccer coaches, track coaches did ask us for that camera out at Sioux Park. We did some digging. At the time, we were told that there was internet to the pole. That it's fixed on a light pole right now at around the 50-yard line on the east side of the football field there. We contracted with Mr. Electric. He came out and did some work. He does a lot of work with the district. He did our power, and we were told that there was internet to that spot because of the video board that we have out at Sioux Park. And after we ordered the camera, the company Live Ticket, who does our streaming for us, they paid for half of the installation and the camera as well to get it there. After it was installed, come to find out that there actually wasn't internet to the to the camera. So that's when Mr. Daniel got involved, and then that's how this all came about, I guess. So in the beginning, we were under the assumption we had internet. We got the camera up, and now we don't have internet there. And Mr. Daniel can speak way more to the IT side of it. And just discussions with him, he said that to have the bandwidth needed to stream and potentially put cameras at Sioux Park, like surveillance cameras potentially down the road, that's why it costs so much. I had the same question, Deb, when I saw the amount of money per month. So I don't know if that, hopefully that cleared some of it up.
All right, Chair recognizes, do you have follow-up statements, Mrs. Swaggart?
No, I just think that the district has some concern about paying $480 a month for a facility that we would use about half the year, and currently we don't have cameras up there. If we had safety and security cameras, so that'd be a question that we would work with Mr. Sargent about. There might be a need. I would like the opportunity to maybe have a conversation with Midco and find out if they would work with us and let us just pay on the months that we need it, or if it can, if a switch can be flipped and not pay for the 6 months a year that we don't currently need it, knowing that if we install cameras, we would obviously need to pay year round. So I don't know if Mr. Daniels has anything to offer.
Is he? Okay, let's do this. The chair recognizes Mrs. Clapham.
So yes, I think, we don't want to get into the weeds, but several questions that popped into my mind as I heard Mr. Bauer is, it says, well, we use Huddle to share film. Have we not shared soccer film before? If we shared it in a different way, because it seems to me we've been playing soccer there for a while. So somehow either we weren't sharing the film or we were sharing it in a different way. So is that an option? And I tend to agree, I think, as far as I feel like there's more questions, like, yes, we have this equipment, but now, like, what would happen if we didn't use it and took it down and returned the camera if we didn't use it the half year? I just feel like there's a lot of questions that perhaps we could do this in a more fiscally sound way with more investigation before like approving it as it is.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mrs. Baker.
So I'm just kind of curious, have we checked with any other vendors to see if they can get it for us less money? And then are we paying this for every place that we're streaming? Are we paying Midco for every place that we're streaming, or just this one? So this could be opening up.
I don't know.
All right, Ms. Baker, you have any other comments?
No, I just want to know if we've checked with any other vendors and if we're paying this for every place that we're streaming.
Okay, Mr. Sassy doesn't have his hand up, so the chair does not recognize Mr. Sassy at this time. The chair will recognize Mr. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things to get a internet to that location, Midco is the only place that really had any existing fiber there. So we would have had to pay for another vendor to drill, to put fiber and dig and all that. So and Midco is what we use for all of our other sites. And the existing internet we have at like Central, Stevens, that's part of the deal. So we're not paying an additional fee for our monthly internet. And our costs vary per school, but 450 is like the lowest by far. Some schools are 1,200, 1,400 a month, 1,500 a month. So. And I can certainly check with Midco about a 6-month contract. That's not the norm, but they might be amenable to that. If it's not like on a month, off a month, if it's a 6 month consecutively, they might be more open to it, but I can certainly ask them that.
Okay, the chair recognizes Mr. Bauer. You still have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer Mrs. Clapham's question. We have shared film in the past. It's just been kind of the old school, someone on a camera standing on the sideline uploading the film that way. This camera it's automatic. As soon as the game is over, it's uploaded. You don't need someone to run it. And with our live stream person willing to pay for half that cost, it was relatively inexpensive to purchase the equipment prior to knowing that we needed extra fiber there or cable or whatever it was. Like I said, when we first started this project, that wasn't the guidance that we received from other personnel.
Okay, Mr. Swan.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. It seems that we have we're into two agenda items tonight that probably could have had a little more research done into these before we presented them here, I guess. And I know the questions have been asked. I would caution that we probably should have a little more research from our administrators and a little more input from our district personnel so that we can get the right decision made before we move forward. Because I think this is kind of, hey, did we check any vendors? These questions were, I think could have been asked and answered maybe before they got to this point. So let's just take a little bit of time maybe on this one and see what options are available, because it's just, I don't know. When we get here, we're looking for, and it was on a consent agenda, we didn't rubber stamp it tonight. And I think that's part of our job as a board is to be fiscally responsible. And I think, Mrs. Baker, for bringing it up. And I think the option of, a 6-month contract or so, whatever we got to do, because you don't play soccer. We don't play soccer year round here. So that's a great question, Superintendent Swigert. So I think that if we could just put a little more research into it, I think that would alleviate a lot of these problems for us and a lot more explanation on the administrative recommendation. When it gets to this point and you're recommending it and yet there's still questions, then I think we should be prepared to answer these. Thank you.
Mrs. Stephenson.
Hi, thanks. Mr. Bauer, can you just, I know you answered Mrs. Clapham's question, but can you answer it again? Prior to this, were we paying money to have the football or the soccer games uploaded, or was it just like a coach taking a video? And then also, how much did the huddle system cost to get installed on this field?
Am I okay to answer? I don't want to talk out of turn.
No. The chair recognizes Mr. Bauer.
Yeah, so prior to this, so Huddle is a service that we pay for all of our sports. It's an annual subscription that we pay for. Our Booster Club helps pay for it for all of our activities, or all of our sports, I should say. So we didn't pay for, we did, but it wasn't like a per upload, if that's the question that you're asking. Before it was just on someone on a camera, kind of old school, standing on the sideline with a camera. We'd go put it on a computer and then we'd upload it that way. This system, like I said, is automated, and we've got them in other locations that we use for other sports. And it's tied directly to Huddle. The installation total with all the power and everything with Mr. Electric was right around $4,000, and the live stream company Live Ticket paid for half of that bill. They paid $2,000 of that bill to help us out, because they do all of our stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Mrs. Baker.
So I have one other question. I know this is to live stream track and soccer. What about tennis? Because the tennis fields are there and they're not quite ready yet, but they will be. Would this be for tennis too, or just for soccer and for track?
It's a permanent camera. You can't move it once it's up, Deb, so it wouldn't reach the tennis courts over there. That question hasn't been asked. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't entertain it by any means. I'd love to be able to stream all of our sports. Obviously it's not for the moms and dads in town. It's for a grandma that lives in Florida, right? That wants to watch their grandkids play. So, definitely not out of the question for tennis. But that specific camera is fixed. It's not something that you can take down and move.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brooklyn.
So that kind of leads into actually what I was going to say. I don't see that big of a concern with this. I do agree that looking at like a 6-month contract would make sense. The city owns that, right? Like it's not our facility, is it?
We
So
own it. We own it.
We do own it? Okay,
It's our facility.
okay, it is our facility. Okay, but it's like with the parks and stuff, so maybe
Yeah,
something.
I know.
with the
It's
city and-
confusing. Don't,
City and the, 'cause
you
like
can
the
ask
park part
Kelsey
is
to
theirs,
explain that,
right?
but
we just own the stadium. Okay, so maybe something with the city could be done, but at the same time, I do see the investment potential there of having internet at that facility longer term, for tennis or for whatever else goes on at Sioux Park. It's who knows what they're gonna do out there. So I totally hear everything that's saying. I probably will vote yes still, because like I said, I see it as an investment into this, but hopefully through this process, we can find some of those other things.
Mr. Swan, thank you. Ms. Berkeley.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Deb does bring up a great point that the tennis courts will be finished over there. Can we look into the expansion of that too? If we're gonna do this, and let's make sure we cover everything so that we're not doing this again. Thank you.
All right, any more discussion? I do have a question, Mr. Daniel, Mr. Bauer. If we vote no on this, on tonight's item, how long would it take for you to get with Midco to see if they would do something else? Because the problem is, obviously tonight we have to say yes or no. Once we say yes, then technically there's no way to change it. So the only way to talk about changing it is to vote no, and then have you all bring it back. How much of a inconvenience would that be?
Oh,
Oh, the chair. The chair recognizes Mr. Daniel.
sorry, I don't talk very much, so thank you. I can just reach out to our Midco rep. It'd be really trivial. So, I mean, so I could talk to him. If they said yes to a 6-month contract, then we would just put it on the next board agenda for a 6 month. So it'd be easy to find out if they would do that or not. If that's what you were asking.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Mr. Berkeley.
Okay, that brought me to another question then, because I don't want to say no to this and then have Midco come back and say, no, we're not gonna do a 6-month. And then we're nowhere. Is there an option to bring this one as is right back? If Midco says, no, we won't do anything else.
Yes, the administration would, obviously at that point, we'd have to,
Okay.
just because we wouldn't have anything, and we would have to decide on the current.
Okay.
Proposal, agenda item.
Thank you.
Right. Everybody, okay. All these hands, okay. The chair recognizes Mrs. Stephenson.
I'm with you, Michael. I'm inclined to just vote for this to keep the ball rolling. Voting yes doesn't preclude Mr. Daniels from getting a lower price. Right? I mean, so the board can request, as I believe we are, Mr. Daniel, to see if there's a 6-month contract, but I feel like I want to vote yes, because I don't want to hold up a process that's been in the works.
Okay, so here's the other part of the discussion. If we vote yes, and then there's a change, is it or somebody help me, would it have to be brought back, or would we just pay cheaper? Would it just be cheaper?
I
Now
would
the
say,
chair recognizes the great honorable man from Rapid City. Mr. Sampson.
thank you, sir. The cleanest way would bring it back and have it approved. However, you would already have technically a contract in place. So you would be approving a new contract, and then the old contract would be null at that point. So I don't think it wouldn't prevent you certainly from entertaining a new contract if indeed there was a more cost-effective way to pull this off.
All right, any more? Mr. Swan?
Hi, Coy, what's your recommendation then? We bring it back, or we would just, I'm unclear.
I think we hear the board loud and clear in terms of your concerns. I would agree with you, Mr. Swan. I think obviously we didn't do a good job of vetting this out and having good conversations. What I'm hearing Shane say is that he doesn't have major concerns that not approving it tonight would disrupt anything in terms of the long-term ability to do what they need to do at that field. So I think the cleanest way would be to vote no and then have it brought back at the next meeting in the capacity that we want to see it, whatever that is, whether that's Midco saying, no, we can't do any better. We won't do a 6-month agreement. This is what it is. Or yeah, sure, we can do a 6-month agreement and here's what it would look like. That would be my thought.
Thank you, Coy.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Mr. Berkman.
Sorry.
Figure out what I'm.
Another question now. So I guess this is probably a question for Mr. Bauer and Mr. Daniel. Would 3 weeks until our next meeting? Is that correct? 3 weeks throw things off with soccer probably started already soon or already, right? Would that throw things off there if we waited 3 weeks, or would it be more beneficial to say, yes, we can do something?
Our first home soccer matches are this weekend. When is the next board meeting? I don't have that in front of me.
September 5th.
September 5th.
So there would be, that's about half of the soccer season would be over by then. And then depending on how long the work takes. But I also want to do it right, if that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Mr. Sassen.
Thank you, sir. Question, Jordan, what would your plan be in that interim time, just to go back to the traditional way of recording from the sideline and uploading?
Yes. Yeah, we would just do what we've done in the past, which we can do.
Okay, post soccer, what is happening at Sioux Park that service would be utilized for
This fall or
throughout the course of the year?
the winter months, obviously not much happens out there. It would then move into track in
Tracking
the
this.
spring. Mhm. And the camera was originally installed in like February, and then the ground was froze, and it took time to get people out there, which is kind of why it got pushed back so far,
Sure.
you know, too.
If the board approves this tonight, is it immediate? I mean, are they ready to flip the switch and this service would be ready to go?
I asked that question, and the Midco response was, we will try to get it installed as soon as we can after the order is signed.
The point of my line of questioning, board members, is sounds like if the major benefit of this is for the soccer season, if you push it into September, that cuts off half the season, and then we're investing money for 3/4 of a year that it really won't be utilized a lot. So I think probably making a choice tonight, one direction or another, would be a benefit.
All right. Any more discussion? All right, Shirley, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Troy,
Yes, because I was a soccer coach one time, so yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Christine,
No.
Deb,
No.
Kate,
No,
Michael,
Yes.
Walt.
No,
Motion fails 3 yes or no.
Okay, so I would assume, Superintendent Swaggart, that obviously the board would entertain another item and in a different form, hopefully a a cheaper form, so. All right, thank you all. Item number 10, items for board information. We have Mrs. Strong presenting for Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Mrs. Strong. And I think when you get up to mic, just make sure you turn it on so that we can. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I don't have my glasses. I need my glasses. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for letting me present this evening. I'm going to be presenting the federal grants for approval for this evening that Jackie Talley and her team worked on last year and this summer. So these professional development opportunities that you have in front of you were written last year and are in the school improvement plans all ready to go. And they are part of the school improvement process moving forward. Each of these professional development opportunities align to the vision and mission of the school district moving forward with their Title I schools. So you will see that they are grouped together by the professional development and not by the school. Many of our schools share the same professional development opportunities, interests, and ideas to maintain continuity and consistency across the district to do what's best for kids, supporting our Title I schools, supporting their education initiatives, their behavior initiatives, their wellness initiatives, and their whole child initiatives. Do you have any questions for me for this, or would you like for me to go through this line item by line item?
No, I do have a question. Are we supposed to be looking at something?
So I believe that you,
Item C, items, it's online. Online, Bishop Carr?
No, so.
It was under information.
Oh, on that. Okay.
It's just the link.
Thank you, Mrs. Strong.
my apologies, Bishop Carr, my apologies.
Old age is getting. So, continue, thank you.
Absolutely. So again, I'm happy to go through each one of these initiatives and professional development initiatives. Unless you've had the opportunity to review them, I'm happy to answer questions.
Anybody need them read through? No, ma'am, we're fine. Thank you so much. Oh, Chair recognizes Mr. Burke.
Under plan book, there is no, is that a service? Is it?
So yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was an oversight on my part. I didn't realize that was in there without any school supporting that. That should have been taken out. So that was an oversight on my part.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And last, also one more comment. Many of these professional development opportunities are carryovers from this prior year or prior years moving forward into this coming year.
Right. Anything else? So is that, are you on Alpha, Bravo, or
I'm
Charlie?
gonna touch on the shade.
Yes, Made for Shade. I don't know, is it in here? Okay, so we have our Made for Shade grants. And you'll have to forgive me. Today is my 9th day on the job, so forgive me just a little bit. I may not be completely versed in all of these, but we do have a wonderful grant called Made for Shade. And I know that Superintendent Swaggart can help me with this if I misspeak, where local businesses are partnering with the schools, offering trees, yay, made for shade, and opportunities for rest and relaxation and outdoor opportunities for our students to enjoy the outdoors in a way that is safe and for many of our schools that are students that do not have opportunities to enjoy those.
Additionally, this is a team of people spearheaded by or a committee that is spearheaded locally by our dermatologists. And they're very concerned about the impact of exposed skin to the sun. So they have proposed or funded a shade structure, not just trees, but a shade structure that will be installed moving forward at General Beetle over the playground. It would give an opportunity for part of that land to be used for maybe a classroom activity out there. Many of our other elementaries have this, or covering of our playground equipment and area. Jade is working on the installation. When we are gifted a Made in the Shade grant, it's one of those gifts that come with a price tag for us as well. They provide the shade opportunity,
Structure.
I guess, or
Yeah.
the shade covering or the trees, but then the district has to fund the installation and upkeep of the coverings or the planting of the trees. So it's one of those things that we bring forward because it is very good for our students and our families. However, it will come forward with a line item cost as we move forward for installation. So we always share with the board that we have been gifted this Made for Shade opportunity. Then we will bring forward an installation or a planting cost. And for board approval, if we want to move forward to actually do the installation. General Beetle was the school that was selected for 22-23 installation in 23-24. The organization would like to work with the New South Middle School for to be named in the 23-24 school year and installed the 24-25 school year. So they name us, they then work with our district to determine how that is going to best lay on our land, where we're going to place it, what we're going to need to do it. It has been a very common practice in the past for these shade structures to go up. So we have them at a variety of our elementary buildings and middle schools right now. And this are the names for Stevens High School, Made for Shade. I think that is the trees, and General Beetle is the shade structure.
Robbinsdale has one if you'd like to drive by and see that they received several years ago.
Knollwood also has one, yet. So it's if you've seen them, that some of our city parks have them as well. It's the triangles, bright color above picnic tables. Storybook Island has them so that it makes that area more usable for families and children. And of course, I've had conversations with the doctors that are really involved in the fundraising for this. And of course, one of the things they consider is that oftentimes at school, we don't take time to put on sunscreen for kids. I mean, and families may put it on in the morning before they come to school, but by the afternoon recess, its usefulness has worn off. So this is just their attempt to help us help our students.
Any other questions for Mrs. Chair recognizes Mrs. Stephenson.
Thank you. I just was, these contract proposals, I just am curious, are they representative of work, like initiative taken by the schools? Like Wilson is getting this program, North is getting this program. Is that undertaken by the schools? Do they find the grant and apply and then you administer it, or?
Yes, ma'am. Good question. Each one of these professional development opportunities are written into the school improvement, into their plan. And part of their plan is recognized from data desegregation in needs of education needs, behavioral needs, needs throughout their specific school. So you'll see that each school is differentiated in their needs somewhat because each school has a little bit different, this school needs this school needs this. We have hired this, we have lowered that. And so the school has a team that develops their findings and develops their needs. And then that team comes together and writes their plan. And then this plan is written into the grants management system that's submitted to the state saying, okay, so we have identified these needs in literacy. So we want to bring in people to help the teachers develop strategies or classroom lessons or ways of delivering or communicating or collaborating to increase the literacy in this building. And so that's why each one of these are written just a little bit differently. And then the state says, yeah, this is a great plan, great idea. Here's why it's what's best for kids. We support this and we approve it. Then it comes back to us with a dollar amount. And then as the program director, then I manage those funds to ensure that everything they're doing in here aligns to what they say they're going to do in the school. So they can't just go out and contract with anybody for any professional development. It has to align to their goals and it has to align to the needs of their specific students.
Okay.
Did they answer your question?
Yep. And then are these schools then all on school improvement plans or are they all title schools?
These are all our title schools. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Chair recognizes Mr. Sassy.
Thank you, President Carr. So great job explaining that, Jennifer. 9 days in and having that kind of handle on it is awesome. Just to provide a little additional background on this item in particular, former Director Talley and I had some discussion. As we are aware, South Dakota codified law says that all contracts must be approved by the board prior to being executed. Obviously, under the different under the umbrella of federal programs and all the different programs living under that umbrella, there are a lot of contracts happening through the title program, through the school improvement funds, all those different things. And so Jackie and I had talked about a way that we could hopefully bring those contracts forward to the board in a more consolidated way and in a more efficient way, as opposed to having them strung out throughout the year and being kind of patchwork. And so that's where this idea came together, to try to house all those to the best of the ability at this point in the year under one agenda item and present them to the board. The board, as Jackie had done in the past, present you some general information regarding the consolidated application where all of these programs live and are planned for. But obviously you're not seeing line item by line item the specific contracts that are being proposed under those programs. And so that was where the thought process behind housing it all under one agenda item came from. Obviously, as they move throughout the year, plans can change, plans can be amended. So there may still be contracts coming forward based on those changes or different needs, but the majority of those are housed under this agenda item. So that was some of the background and how this came about.
Chair recognizes Superintendent Swaggart.
Thank you, President Carr. The state has really shifted how the grants management system and the requirements of how we enter things and requires a lot more specifics about why a school is writing work or a contract into their plan. We want to make sure that we are also educating the board on that at the same time. Previously and in past Department of Education grants management, it was kind of okay to write a plan and just say we're going to spend $10,000 on literacy and figure it out as you go. That is not the way it flies anymore. We have to have very clear delineation of how we're spending our title money. We also feel that just handing the board a consolidated app that includes 10 or 11 title school plans and saying, please bless this, or the entire professional development plan for the title federal funds for that is not the way we want to operate as a school district any longer. So we are going to be bringing those forward after the plans have been submitted so that you can see what is written into them, so that you as a board member are very educated. So if any of your constituents or any families come forward and say, were you aware that Knollwood is paying money for this? Yes, because we've brought it forward and we are explaining in advance rather than defending later. So we are trying to shift the way our board operates and brings information to the board, how the district does that. So I applaud Mr. Sassy and Mrs. Talley for being the first to take this on, because we will be doing this in other departments as well. This is going to be the expectation we have moving forward. So after our departments write their grants, for GMS and how they're going to spend their money. We'll bring forward the Perkins grant. We'll bring forward the grant for professional development. We'll bring forward what we're spending SPED dollars on when we handle those federal allocations, so that we're bringing those forward, hopefully in chunks like this, so that we've gone through them tonight. They'll be on the consent agenda next board meeting, so that you have the opportunity to see and read what the services we're purchasing are about and ask the questions before we bring a bill forward, so that you can have that information in advance.
Any other questions for Mrs. Strong? Thank you, Mrs. Strong.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board.
This time we're on agenda item D, 10 Delta Committee Reports. Anybody have a committee report? All right, moving on to 11, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, Bishop Carr. I will make it short and sweet tonight. How about that? I say that and then we'll have a lot of discussion and we'll be here till 8. The last time that we had a board meeting was August 1st. On August 1st, we talked about the data retreats that were happening and the work that was being done. Schools got together with their building leadership teams, really dove into their school improvement plans and used the data to help guide that work. So that work was completed since our last board meeting. Central and Stevens High School activities departments gathered all of their coaches and advisors, went through the handbooks, went over the rules, really dove into that work so that they were all on the same page. That is really hard work. It is an expectation every year to get all of the coaches and advisors on the same page. So I want to point out that that did happen. Also, the high schools will be calling in families for activities, information nights, so that we can also inform the parents. That is an expectation that all freshman parents attend with their freshman athlete or person participating in activities. However, that isn't always necessarily the case for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So we do kind of miss some students that way, but we do make every effort to make sure that that information is going out from the schools to the participants. And we do that partially by making sure all of our coaches and advisors are on the same page. 5 of you were kind enough to join me this year at the South Dakota School Board Conference. Dr. Hafer also was there. Those of you who are there understand this. Those of you who are not, I would like to key you in. We had a great keynote speaker in Bill Daggett. He spent a lot of time talking about artificial intelligence. It is something that we will be dealing with as a district. I think school districts across the nation and universities are also dealing with artificial intelligence. Some really great key data points were made. Artificial intelligence apps are the fastest growing membership of any app in history. So if you look at Netflix or you look at Twitter, Snapchat, all of those took months to get 1 million people to upload them. ChatGPT reached 1 million in less than a month. They have come out with more reincarnations of this. Every time it's getting stronger. The one that's supposed to come out in November is supposed to have 500 trillion words access to that. It's just going incredibly, it's growing, and other companies like Google and other companies are also creating their own artificial intelligence. Those of you who are close to my age, it really scares me because, you know, we watch the Terminator movies and is this Skyforce heading our way? But artificial intelligence is here. We all also attended different sessions. So I would ask that if the board members that attended have any information to share about their sessions that they took particular interest in or information out of. Probably the two most valuable sessions that I attended happened at the very end of the conference, but I sat in 2 of the legal sessions. We're very blessed in Rapid City to have Kelsey on our team, but to sit in and listen to law firms talk about the legal pieces that are moving forward in public education is always valuable. And I was able to come back and have some conversations with Kelsey about what I had heard. Teaching, Learning, and Innovation team, they need to be congratulated because last week when new teachers started, that team really hit the ground running, where we started working with new teachers on our Acadians and our MAPS testing. We also are rolling out the new math curriculum. As all teachers return today, that work has been continuing. People always wonder, why do we have teachers back 5 days before school starts? Like, what could they possibly be doing? All of their time is spoken for. We could probably use more. They might not agree, but there's a lot of training and things that need covered. I know it's not everybody's favorite, especially because we've had a really cool summer. And so now it's going to be 102 on Friday when our teachers are in the buildings. That's typically, how it works, but lots of hard work. How we get professional development ready is what our leaders are doing all summer long. So that is what our principals are doing, getting ready to present this information. That is what our teaching, learning innovators are doing. That is what Nicole Keegan is doing with professional development. So I do want to make sure and shout out the hard work that they have been doing. As you know, I meet monthly with our CEA. So we had a meeting talking about a lot of different things. Of course, one of the concerns that they have is our need to move teachers late in the summer due to staffing needs. So we spent quite a bit of time at our last meeting talking about staffing strategies moving forward. Huron Studer Education was here doing some strategic planning due to some travel troubles getting here, thunderstorms and whatnot. We did lose half of a day. They're going to make that up with us. But hiring managers and directors attended an afternoon session on the strategic plan and moving forward. Elementary teams and secondary teams attended half-day sessions. So where we began work on the scorecards, you will get more information about that at the board retreat. New teacher orientation got started, as I mentioned earlier. I wanted you to know that we have 104 new teachers this year in Rapid City area schools. So 104 people were at the kickoff and spent the day really diving into some different sessions and are doing the work as we've moved forward until everybody else joined them today. I met with the new mayor of Rapid City. We are going to have monthly meetings. There's always a lot of ways that the city and the school district can team together to promote public education. I am thankful that the new mayor is very supportive of public education and those meetings are very valuable, and I will keep you updated on things coming forward out of those meetings. Bishop Carr and I and a few administrators and directors attended a tour at Western Dakota Technical School, and we're very fortunate to spend a couple of hours with the experts at WDT. We toured various classrooms and the programs that they have that are really intended to take students who are wanting to move out of high school into a very short program, 2 years, 1 year, a few weeks, a half a year, to become certified, to move right into the job force. We saw the stations where they can learn how to drive, to get a CDL, how to drive a semi truck or a bus or various other machinery that needs a CDL. We toured that space. We saw the trucks that they have where their students go out and drive. We did talk to them about our need for bus drivers. They have a bus, so they are working to train people to be bus drivers. We also talked about how we would encourage one of their students in that program to maybe sign up and drive for us in the morning or in the afternoon. Interestingly enough, we have a Rapid City area school bus that parks there. it is a student. He drives a bus route. He parks his bus. He goes to class in the back parking lot. He goes to class at WDT, not in their CDL program. He already has a CDL. And then leaves in the afternoon and goes out and drives a bus. So it's really nice to know that we have those partnerships. Their plumbing and electrician programs, the setups they have there where students can learn how to do all the different plumbing. They've tore up the cement foundation so that they can dig into the dirt and lay plumbing. It was really incredible. They have an incredible HVAC program. So one of the things that we have agreed to do with WDT this fall is they are going to have office hours in our career centers at Stevens and Central, where every week they guarantee that someone from WDT will be there to answer questions of students. And this is the first time that we have agreed to have that availability, and they're committing to it as well. And we do hope that that will help get our students' questions answered and can help them get their financial aid figured out. Also, it's a great way for us to increase our dual enrollment with WDT. We had a meeting with Ty. Ty contracts with us for a lot of different things. That's technology and education. It's part of the Black Hills Special Services Co-op. They last year led our professional development day in October. We're working with them again this year for that. We are also going to work with them to support federal programs as we move forward with a new team up there. As I mentioned earlier, staffing continues to be an issue. If you're looking at the agenda today, and you can see resignations and things that are happening, it is still a concern. People are resigning. Today, Dr. Strasser and I received an email from an elementary principal that a brand new teacher resigned, second grade at a building, resigned this afternoon for personal reasons. That has a domino effect. So we've got work that we need to do. So I would continue to inform you that even though as of this morning, we thought we had a certified teacher in every single room for kids when classes started, we ended the day knowing that we're gonna probably have to do some more shifting in order to make sure that students have someone in front of them on Tuesday. So please keep that in mind as we move forward and as people reach out to you. What's happening with hiring, it continues to be an issue. We are absolutely dedicated to making sure that we have the coverage we need and the classrooms we need, but it is hard to have those conversations with teachers that moves need to happen. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. As we move forward, next Tuesday, I encourage any board member that wants to attend the first day of school. You're welcome, of course, to go to our buildings and partake in school. So the first day is awfully exciting. I have asked the leadership team of the district to sign up to be at all buildings. So district leadership will be present at all buildings on the first day of school. You are invited to as well, and encouraged to come in and support our staff as they embark on the official start of the 22 or 23-24 school year. And I look forward to seeing those who can attend the tour. We're going to tour South Middle School, the new building, tomorrow afternoon. So I'm excited about that as well. And that is where we stand today. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Swaggart. Any questions, comments for Swaggart? Okay, seeing none, we're on to other. All right, the chair recognizes Mrs. Thomas.
So I know we were told we should probably have some brief notes from the convention that we went to. And as I went through my notes and listened back to my recordings, mine cannot be brief. And I would ask that maybe we do a study session, only because mine, if you want me to, I can, but it's going to be a good half hour because some of this stuff is really important. And I think as a board, we should have a longer conversation when we bring some of these things up that we heard, that we each want to comment back on somebody else, what they heard, and maybe come up with some sort of plan that helps match the strategic plan. I just think it needs to be a little bit longer of a discussion than something brief, but that was my other.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mrs. Clapham.
I would say that's a great idea. I wish I had been smart enough to think about it, but I hadn't. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. We've been talking about organizing and our study session, so I think that is a great idea. I did want to say the new teacher event, I did feel like there was a lot of really good energy, so it was really nice to meet a lot of our new staff, and it felt like really good energy in the building, and people were really excited. So I felt like that went well, and always, I just want to support and say, I know even in my children's own building that there's a teacher that on Tuesday posted that they were excited about their new adventure, and they got moved from a team they had been with for 10 years. And in that, she just embraced it with positivity. And I'm so appreciative. Like, I cannot imagine what it would be like to say, you've got a week, figure it out. And so that we do appreciate you so much and recognize those challenges are really, really hard. And we appreciate all of you taking those lumps and just doing what's best for the kids.
All right, chair recognizes Mrs. Stephenson.
Thank you. I want to second what Jamie said. I want to extend my sincere appreciation to any teachers and staff whose position was changed, who had a dream job and had to go to a job that maybe wasn't their dream job. These are kids, they need you, and we are super appreciative of the sacrifice you're making. I don't know how to compensate you in any other way other than to say, we recognize it's a sacrifice. Many people are sacrificing in this district this year, and I'm appreciative. And also to all the leaders who took the time to show up. I appreciate meeting you, and thank you for the role that you've taken in our district. Kate, agree with you. There's way too much to summarize from each of these sessions that we went to. Some takeaways though was that Bill Daggett keynote address talking about artificial intelligence. What was staggering about it is how different this school year is going to be from last year. Like, that's what the take home message was. This isn't in the distant future. We thought it started last Christmas when we started playing around with ChatGPT, and now it's like a totally different beast, and it is in our schools. And it also made me proud of the efforts at Central and Stevens to do evidence-based grading. I think that's a grading approach that is appropriate for the new world of AI and ChatGPT. So listening to that, I felt like, well, I think we're thinking about that in this district, and that makes me happy. But truly, it's going to be such a different year because of this technology. And I hope it's better. Like when he said that you could do a high school master schedule in a matter of minutes, obviously there's going to be, but like when you can do lesson plans, I hope we can use this as a tool for our staff to make the job easier, lessen the load. That was the biggest take home. The other thing, I also really enjoyed the legal presentations, and instead of getting into the details, because I'll say something wrong, the wisdom that I took home for this board is that in every issue that's going to come to us, there are legal precedents. And before we make any decisions in policy, we should ask our in-house counsel for legal precedents so we can know what kind of water we're wading into, just make an informed decision. That was also, I thought this was one of the better ASBSD conferences that I've been to for those sessions and for the keynote. So that's that. I won't take you up any more of your time. Thanks.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Berkland.
Thank you. I was unable to go to the conference, so I look forward to hearing about all these things. AI doesn't really scare me, but I haven't seen the Terminator.
Just a baby.
It just feels like calculators again all over. Calculators ruining math. Here we are. But anyway, what I wanted to say is also great energy at the new teachers. At that, I was able to speak with one teacher who had been moved. She got a job and was moved to Knollwood, and said she spoke to the principal there, and that made her feel so much better. So I wanted to shout out the Knollwood principal. And our PD team as well. I talked to a few teachers. One of them told me that this was the She got the most classroom time in any district that she's ever been in, which as teachers, we all know, that's really all you want. I know there's things we got to do, but really we want time to just get ready. So on top of that, I want to thank all of our teachers and welcome them back. And I want to thank our admin that set all this up. I know that there were maybe some things on the agenda tonight that could have been better or whatever, but you said that as of yesterday, you had a teacher in every classroom, and a couple weeks ago, I don't remember the exact number, 20 something. So I'm sure that took a lot of time. So I just wanted to say thank you for making all of that work. And then once again, thank you for all of everyone that affected.
Chair recognizes Superintendent Swiger.
So I think it's a great idea to do a study session on the conference. My question is, we were going to schedule our first study session for September 12th. Do we want to wait that long? That's a month and a half after the session, or do we want to look at possibly 2 Tuesdays from now?
Probably the sooner the better for freshness of information and relevancy. So I think that would be appropriate unless a board member has any disagreement to that. Okay. So it'd be when then, just for the record?
It would be Tuesday, the 29th of August. We will do a study session on the information presented and learned at the school board conference.
And I'll piggyback on that by saying that this school year where we've planned to, the exec team has talked about having fewer study sessions, but more items in the study session. But this one, because it will be so long with so many issues, will be just the topics that came from the conference. So
thank you.
Will you still want to hold the September 12th?
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, for me, I learned, I went to the new board president meeting class, whatever, that was actually on Wednesday. And a couple of relevant things for me, we had a meeting where we were unsure about whether the president could make a motion or second or any of that. And I am a regular board member just with extra responsibilities, not extra power. Just, I looked up the Japanese cartoons anime Voltron. And so if you look up Voltron, you'll see that each independent character is not as strong as when they come together. So that was interesting. One of the things I learned also is that, which a minor change we made, is that our agenda for our board meetings by statute doesn't have to be posted for 24 hours before the meeting. And ours had been out a week before. So I made the decision to make a minor change, and agenda reports for the meeting will be out Thursday by noon. Is that your understanding, Shirley? Okay, Thursday by noon. The other interesting thing that
the agenda mark is due at noon, so I'll be posted.
okay, all right, thank you. The other interesting thing for our district was I went to the booth and we saw virtual nursing, which was very intriguing. The technology is amazing, where we would have an offsite nurse actually physically looking in throats and ears and temperatures and all those different type of things. And so I know that's a need for our district. And Mr. Sassy, it is reasonably priced. Okay, we got you. We were thinking about you, but it is a big need in our district, and so hopefully we'll get some study sessions on that and bring that forward. The last board meeting, I asked board members to bring some initiatives. There's a section of our Board of Education page where they want, I think, 3 or 4 initiatives from the board, things that we're doing, things that we're working on, and I had asked you to bring some of those initiatives that you thought. I've changed, and so we'll do that at the retreat so that it can be thought out and cohesive. So hopefully the goal after the retreat is that we'll have some initiatives that we'll be able to put on our website. So That's all I have. Any other? Okay. Okay, let me see. Hold on. The chair hasn't recognized you yet. All right. The chair has made a decision to recognize Mrs. Stephanie.
I even raised my hand. So my only thought, and my mic's on, my only thought is potentially that preliminary discussion to give us things to think about could be tagged to the study session that we just scheduled, because I think our retreats can be really packed. And I think this study session could potentially be like, maybe an hour and a half of ASBSD stuff, and then maybe we just have a preliminary talk amongst each other, and whoever else comes to see, what our thoughts are on what they should be.
Okay. The chair recognizes that that's a good idea and shows wisdom on the part of Mrs. Stephenson. So maybe we'll have two items on that study session: the ASB report, conference report, and discussion on initiatives, so that we can even get it out sooner. So thank you for that suggestion. All right, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Stand by. Executive session SDCL 1-25-2.3, and it's dealing with having discussion with our legal counsel. I'll entertain that motion.
Make a motion.
Deb and Kate. No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And we will just, for the record, comment that the board will not be making any votes or decisions in our executive session. Thank you.